From the Watergate Building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now, here's Hotline editor, John Mercurio.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm Amy Walter.
And I'm John Mercurio. Are Fred Thompson's fans in for the biggest disappointment since Sorority House Massacre 2? Thompson is receiving mixed reviews for his first big speech given Friday night in Orange County. Amy Walter, have Republicans put too much hope on Fred Thompson?
Of course. That's the whole problem. There's always too much hope in the guy who's going to come in like the Messiah and save the party.
The Wesley Clark.
You can't win. You can't win when basically folks are coming up to you 13 years later. When was the last time he was on the ballot? When was the last time he ran?
1996. Right? But he's been on television so much in the past couple of years.
Doesn't matter. Being on TV is not being a candidate. Of course you're going to be a little bit rusty, even if and the expectations much too high for him to have to live up to.
The reviews coming out of this weekend, Bob Novak, Ariel Sabar from the Christian Science Monitor, very unimpressed. Jonathan Martin, Mark Ambender, who was out there for the Hotline. Look, a lot of people not particularly impressed. But were they not impressed because he didn't give that sort of red meat, partisan, Republican speech that you have to give at this Lincoln Club dinner in order to win primary voters? Or were they not impressed because he isn't enough of a statesman, or it doesn't look as though he actually has the sort of fire in the belly that you need to run for president? One of the biggest things he's going to be fighting is this impression among people inside the Beltway that he's really lazy, that he's not up for the raising of the money or the 20-hour work days that are going to be required, especially for somebody getting into a race so late. And I think what he didn't put to rest on Friday night
were those rumors.
I mean,
that perception.
Was that perception?
Absolutely. And that, in the articles that have been written, the comments are like, looked down at at the podium frequently. You couldn't hear him at points, and that familiar drawl was a little bit toned down. And it's just this sort of rambling, ambling style that was very effective, especially when he was running for the Senate. Now you got to sort of put that up a notch as you go run for president.
You can't run a front porch campaign like like a lot of his advisors are trying to tell him to do. Before he got into this race, a lot of people, there's sort of this rumor mill going around that what he was really doing, he had no interest in actually running for president himself, but his best friend in the Senate was John McCain. His voting record is actually really similar to John McCain. So the speculation was that all he was really doing was building support for himself that he would eventually throw to McCain to try to actually build support within the conservative wing of the party for McCain. Whether or not he actually meant to do that, I think ultimately, and this is just me going out on a limb because I don't know what Fred Thompson's actually thinking, but that might ultimately be what he does, whether he intended it or not. Builds support for himself, decides not to run, people say, who are you supporting? And he ends up supporting McCain because that's his sort of, in this field as it exists, that's his ideological soulmate.
Don't you think at some point, though, that McCain with conservatives, it's not just that they're a little bit skeptical, like they are maybe with Romney, saying, I don't really know if we like this, what does he stand for? Do we need, we need to sort of vet him out a little bit better. With McCain, it's been sitting there for so long, this frustration that they've had with him, this lack of trust that they have in his positioning, that I don't know if getting the seal of approval from Fred Thompson is going to be enough.
It's definitely not going to be enough, you're right.
But it's a question about whether Thompson carries the weight a couple months from now that we think that he carries now. I think he carries the weight that he does because voters in the Republican primary see him as somebody who could actually not only win the nomination but be the strongest general election candidate. Not that they're necessarily pining for him and his, for himself.
Right. We saw this with Wesley Clark, and I hate to make the Wesley Clark comparisons. Are tired at this point, but he has yet to prove that he is really anything more than that. But we will have to wait and see. That'll do it for today's show. Join us tomorrow when Bob Novak reveals that slip and slides are actually a huge disappointment for backyard water gamers.
It's true, they're very dangerous.
I've heard that. I really have heard that.